Hey, it's Matt with the Enlightened Minds. Today I want to talk about something I feel is very important. I've been doing a lot of research on a lot of different things lately, and I'm sure all of you have been too. And it seems like everything is connected. At the top of the pyramid, everything is connected. Everything is connected to the elite. Everything you look into that is a major thing going on right now is connected to the elite, to the top few people. And I'm going to show you a video that's going to kind of explain to you and show you what I'm trying to talk about and what I'm saying. Like, everything is connected. It all leads to the top people and what they are trying to do, their agenda. Before we get started, hey, hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already. Much appreciated. It helps me build this channel, trying to get a channel of like-minded people, and I got a lot of good content I'm dropping all the time you don't want to miss. Alright, let's get to this video.
In the same way that General Flynn was targeted, there's another sort of big pharma industrial complex that has ties to Fauci and Birx and Gates and to the recent drug. If you saw today, all of a sudden Fauci, who's found every reason in the world to second guess other drugs that may be cheaper, more affordable, don't have patents in certain instances, have actually had a longer history of treating malaria or other related items. He's been very dismissive of that. Even had a Veterans Affairs study that turns out not to be the kind of study that he claimed it was, that was dismissive of alternatives. Instead, today he was pushing a different drug, which just coincidentally is tied to Duke University, who was helping to do the testing for that drug, and to other companies that he also had prior ties to and relationships with, and that Bill Gates had ties to and relationships with. Indeed, if you really start to dig in, you will find that there's a common nexus around Duke University when it concerns public policy relating to public health, and that it often involves the interest of big pharma, often involves the interest of Bill Gates, and often involves institutional actors like Anthony Fauci. Indeed, if you looked up who was the head of the Human Vaccine Institute at Duke University, you would find an individual who was trained and mentored by guess whom? Bill Gates. If you looked up who was one of the first groups involved in testing for COVID-19 and coronavirus, you'll find it was Duke University. If you dig in to find out who was doing the Facebook fact-checking, criticizing any allegation that the Wuhan lab had any role whatsoever in this virus, you would find someone who works at Duke University. If you looked into who is the university that has the deepest, strongest, widest relationship in the area of public health with China, you would find Duke University. Indeed, Duke has an alignment with the university located in Wuhan. So it's no surprise. They have the premier public health related infrastructure and university academic structure we're dealing with and supporting China of any American university by far. So it should have been no coincidence that several weeks ago, Duke said that they were going to look into the testing for not for the products that the president was talking about, not for these other treatments that are being tested around the world, but for instead the drug that instead Fauci started talking about and praising today. The Duke, it was Duke who was involved with the testing, with the lab that's connected to it, with the company that has a patent on it, which will be about 10 times more expensive than anything else. And you see this common pattern, this central role of Duke. And if you go back and look at how HIV vaccine process went through and look at who was involved, how they were involved, what their interactions and interrelationships were, what their political or public policy agenda may have been, who might get profited, who might receive and obtain profits from it, you'll find the same pattern. You'll find the same central role of Duke University, the same connected parties of Fauci and Birx, the same constant presence, ever presence of Bill Gates. You'll find the same degree of same big pharma companies often involved and connected, whether it's Gilead or others. Indeed, when you dig into those companies, you'll often find those companies' executives have long relationships with Swiss companies that are prominently known for their production and promotion of Valium. But before that, they were connected to using Nazi labor during the 1930s and 1940s. They said, don't worry, it was only the forced detention camps and concentration camps with people from Eastern Europe, not people that were from Germany, as if that was some sort of defense. Same companies that if you dig into the files and dig into the records, you'll find them involved in CIA-related projects to bail out people connected to the Bay of Pigs. You'll find them involved in opium and illicit drug distribution issues in the 1930s. You'll find them involved in antitrust investigations around the world for price manipulation and economic cartel activity in the 1960s and 1970s. So you'll find them involved in a wide range of questionable illicit activities. And those same people are involved. The CEO of the company that's going to be promoting the new drug was a longstanding employee of those companies with that prior questionable history. And in fact, now has to make a substantial profit. And if you were simply following the news and information, you would have been able to recognize or forecast that this was a good stock to buy. The stocks that are making the products that are connected to Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, that are being promoted by Duke University, where Duke is being involved in the clinical trials of those drugs or the testing for those drugs, are going to be the ones that the system promotes. And they're going to be the ones that the system promotes at the expense of the public interest, often for the personal profit and for the policy gains of those billionaire donors, of those political officials, of those big pharma companies, of those prominent university officials, often who receive large donations from these same connected parties and connected individuals. So the companies like Gilead end up profiting, and the CEO of Gilead having long-standing ties and a 30-year plus employee before he recently joined Gilead as the CEO of a Swiss company that had all of those ties and connections and question marks over the last century. So that's the political process that's happening, is we're seeing decisions made that appear to be part of a sort of big pharma industrial complex of its own kind and accord, not something that is going and that is rooted in actual public health and little d democratic processes. In fact, we likely are seeing policies and political decisions made based on certain political interest, a certain personal profit interest, a certain donor interest, certain university academic interest, and to a certain degree, certain interest in China, rather than the interest of the democratic American public, little d democratic American public. And the recent efforts to completely demonize certain potential medical treatments while celebrating other medical treatments, when the only thing they have in common is the same set of connected officials in big pharma at Duke University and in the institutional roles of government, is educational to you as to what is really taking place and transpiring, that it's not your health they're looking out for. It's their profit. It's their political agenda. It's their objectives that they're looking out for. And that's the sort of dynamic that's taking place. And indeed, you're seeing, for example, it's an interesting component. You have Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, for a long time, not only affiliated and associated and praising one another, not only supporting the same academic institutions and key promotions of key individuals and sitting on shared committees and shared boards and shared, quote unquote, charitable activities. You have something like Bill Gates connected to entities that are connected to the Wuhan lab. You also have Anthony Fauci connected to boards and groups that had the government give millions of dollars to that Wuhan lab, that then Duke University key personnel go to try to defend and claim on Facebook fact-checking role that no report, even from AP or Reuters or institutional press, can come out second-guessing and questioning whether or not that same lab had a role in releasing the virus, while you have Duke University with the deepest tentacles and deepest ties to China in its universities and institutions present there. Key decision makers, key institutions, key playmakers, key participants, all sharing an agenda and objective that is different and independent from the little d democratic American objective. And we should look at it and filter it from that context. Then you take it a step back. You've had Anthony Fauci now for the better part of a decade talking about how dangerous and scary pandemics could be. You've had Bill Gates talking about how dangerous and scary pandemics could be, almost as if they were forecasting and foreshadowing its occurrence. Then when it does occur, they both utilize the pandemic to promote a panic-based response. And the only treatments they promote, only vaccines they discuss, the only solutions and remedies they propose are such vaccines and treatments are connected to their political allies, and economic associates, and donor-based groups across the country and the globe. Is that a coincidence? Is that pure chance? Should we trust someone who has the kind of agenda that Bill Gates does in this sort of real live inferno type project that Bill Gates exemplifies and represents as a potential threat?